Joining us now, MSNBC legal correspondent Lisa Rubin, NBC News national and intelligence correspondent Tom Winter, law professor at New York Law School and former assistant Manhattan District Attorney Rebecca Roiphe, and reporter for The City and co-host of the FAC NYC podcast, Katie Honan. All right, Lisa, it has been 5 days. Still nobody has taken this up. Nobody has dismissed this case.
That's correct. And Katie, we have new reporting that according to two former Justice Department sources, those who are remaining in the Public Integrity Unit, and I want to clarify for our viewers, our NBC News' Ryan Riley says there are about 25 to 30 lawyers in that unit total. 5 of them resigned last night. So of those who are remaining, they were convened for a meeting today by Emil Bovey, who is the acting Deputy Attorney General, and they were given an edict. Somebody in this room needs to sign that filing, and you need to tell me who it's going to be. One of my sources tells me that Bovey gave them 1 hour to come up with 2 names, and both of my sources say leadership positions were promised to whoever was willing to make that filing. And yet today at 3:04 p.m., we still have not seen a filing cross the docket in the Adams case. And it would be a motion from the Department of Justice seeking to dismiss the indictment under Rule 48 of the Federal Rules of Criminal Procedure. Still nothing.
Why would they not want to dismiss this case? Why has nobody yet stood up and said, I will do this for you, Emil Bovey?
First of all, nobody who's left in the Public Integrity Unit knows anything about this case. Everyone who worked on this case, and this was an investigation that dates back to 2021, everyone who was involved in the investigation with whatever agents were involved, those people are all gone. Whoever signs this filing will also theoretically be responsible for going to a hearing before Judge Dale Ho in the Southern District of New York and explaining why this deal was cut and why they believe it's in the interest of justice. You can imagine that nobody who wasn't involved with the case, much less anyone who was, would want to stand behind this and say that a dismissal without prejudice that somewhat hinges on the result of a new U.S. attorney being confirmed, but also on the results of the November election. That's express in the memo from Emil Bovey on on February 10th. Nobody who's left would want to sign that because they have to stand up and defend it in a court of law where they also have a legal, not just an ethical, duty of candor.
So if none of them stand up, are they going to get fired?
It's not clear yet what's going to happen. And it's possible, there's another outlet, not NBC News or MSNBC, that is reporting that a person has been located and found. We have not yet matched that reporting. If somebody does do that, I just want to flag for you that that person is also likely going to be the person who has to come to court and stand behind it. It's not as simple as just signing the filing, making it, and moving on with your life.
Tom, this feels like a bona fide crisis. It makes the Saturday Night Massacre that we started with seem small.
It 100% is in the legal community. It is 100% not at Justice Department leadership. They don't care. They don't care about the video that you played at the top of the show. They don't care about what people are saying today. They don't care about what their former colleagues in the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York have done, other than it's just created a hassle for them to get to the end goal here. And the end goal here for them is to achieve the objectives that have been laid out in the Trump administration. And their belief is one of those key objectives is, of course, immigration. And one of the ways that they can help solve that is by having the mayor of the city of New York cooperate with them so that, given the amount and the believed size of the migrant community in New York City, that potentially large numbers of people could be removed from New York City, and that's a stated objective of this administration. I'm not saying that's my view or anybody's view. That's their view. That's where they're coming from, and that's what they're about. So they just don't care. And people think, well, they could be shamed into thinking that this is some sort of a crisis of justice. That doesn't matter to them. And so I think people need to understand that that's where we are at this stage, and they believe it is their ethical duty to effect these changes, and that the ethics and the concerns that Lisa rightfully points out with respect to this filing, and the very thing that the prosecutor who brought this case today said, in his belief, we do not live in a country where you can hang a prosecution over somebody's head in exchange for them to carry out a public act.
Yeah.
He says, I don't believe in that, and I don't think anybody should. I'm just telling you that the people that are behind this don't see it that way.
And just if you're wondering if there are politics involved here with these resignations, Sassoon and the other man in the SDNY's office, both conservatives. Sassoon clerked for Antonin Scalia, conservative on the Supreme Court. Rebecca, I know you've got an ethical link here to this. She cited one of your papers in her resignation letter, or her letter to AG Pam Bondi. But I want to get the background here for a second, and Tom alluded to this. He's talking about immigration. There's an immigration element to this, Katie Honan, because the administration wants their immigration policy enacted in New York City. They want to be able to come in here and deport immigrants. That's what they want. They say they want the mayor's help doing that. There was this moment, and this is why there's a quid pro quo tied up on this. Eric Adams says there's no quid pro quo, that he wasn't saying, get me off these charges and I'll help you with immigration. But then he appeared this morning on Fox News alongside the immigration czar, alongside the border czar, Tom Homan. Look.
My attorney, Alex Spira, one of the top trial attorneys in the country. Imagine him going inside saying that the only way Mayor Adams is going to assist in immigration, which I was calling for since 2022, right, is if you drop the charges. That's quid pro quo. That's a crime.
It
took her 3 weeks to report in front of her a criminal action. Right. Come on, this is silly.
If he doesn't come through, I'll be back in New York City, right, and we won't be sitting on the couch. I'll be in his office, up his butt, saying, where the hell is the agreement we came to? I came to New York City. I wasn't going to leave up nothing. Right. I did the last time, and I told him I'm not leaving until I got something. And now I got him on the couch in front of millions of people. He can't back waving us now, right? So I think you're going to see things move in the right direction. I really, truly believe that.
All right, so that was Mayor Adams on Fox News with Tom Homan, and some people likened that, you can make your own judgment, to a hostage video. You heard Mayor Adams saying that it's not a quid pro quo, but Emil Bovee, in the letter saying to drop this case, cited the need for him to help with immigration enforcement. And then he's sitting alongside the immigration czar on Fox News, the president's preferred channel. So talk to me about what defines a quid pro quo and whether this would meet that standard.
Right, absolutely. Well, obviously, there are certain reasons that were put forth that seem clearly pretextual. So, first of all, they say this is...
When you say pretextual, for anybody who doesn't have a law degree, just define that for us.
Right, sure, of course. It seems like a fake excuse for a reason because it's so obviously incorrect. So, first they say, you know, we're issuing this order because this was obviously a weaponized prosecution, meaning that Damian Williams, the former U.S. attorney, did this for political reasons. First of all, it's not clear what those political reasons would have been. Second of all, this is something that, as we were just talking about, as Lisa was saying, has been pursued through, I think, 4 or 5 different U.S. attorneys. So the idea that all of them would have some political axe to grind against a Democratic mayor is absurd. But in addition to that, I mean, whether or not this is a quid pro quo, it's obviously, you know, has something to do with political, partisan, ideological purposes. And that is absolutely and completely inappropriate for a prosecutor to consider. Prosecutors take, and all lawyers take, an oath to enforce the law and the Constitution of the United States. And here, this is, in fact, worse than the Saturday Night Massacre, because in the Saturday Night Massacre, it was a politician who was ordering them to violate that obligation that they have to the law, to the rule of law. Here, these are top officials within the Department of Justice who are also lawyers, who should know better, and in fact, whose job it is to police that line. These lawyers are the ones who are supposed to make sure that those inappropriate political considerations coming from politicians like the president don't filter down to the line prosecutors who are supposed to be enforcing the law without fear or favor.
So what does this say about this Department of Justice?
It says, I mean, that this is a Department of Justice that is intent on breaking norms that have been...
Breaking norms or breaking laws?
Certainly breaking norms and potentially breaking laws, but certainly breaking norms that are fundamental to the rule of law and to our system of justice. And they have been in place since the beginning of our prosecutorial system, and especially since the Watergate, which, you know, for the reasons that we were just discussing at the beginning of your program.
All right. So, Katie, let's get back to immigration, what's happening here in this city. Now that Mayor Adams has made this appearance on Fox News. Now that this news has come out about the DOJ wanting to drop the case, all of these resignations, there has been a pretty loud public outcry, especially among other elected leaders in the city, for him to resign. What's his status at the moment?
He's still mayor, although I'm at City Hall right now and I don't see him. He's out of the office. He was taping, I guess, a Dr. Phil interview, again with Tom Homan, discussing what Tom Homan and President Trump want him to do about immigrants. The result of yesterday's meeting with Tom Homan, he said he's going to issue an executive order allowing ICE back on Rikers Island, the city's largest detention and jail center here, which is actually slated to be closed by 2027. This city council speaker, obviously they play a role in the laws here in the city as well. She said she won't do anything to repeal the city sanctuary laws, which is something the mayor had discussed as well, potentially amending the sanctuary laws, which can restrict and limit how much cooperation the city agencies can give to ICE. And what you're seeing is, like you said, a lot of criticism from opponents running against him for mayor, the primaries in June. And last night on your network, we saw Governor Hochul give her strongest rebuke against Mayor Adams. She has really defended him since he was indicted in September. But last night, she said she was disturbed by the reporting coming out and just the resignation of so many top prosecutors over this case and what they're being asked to do. She said she's going to discuss things with other lawmakers and other officials. You saw more people today, state senators asking for him to resign. Public advocate Jumaane Williams said on another network today that he doesn't think Mayor Adams can be the mayor anymore. So we have this chorus of people asking him to step down and figuring out what they can do because they do not think that the mayor can effectively be the mayor anymore because he is so clearly, to them, compromised.